Hi guys, and welcome to another VGC 2019 Sun Series Pokemon guide, and in today's guide we're going to be looking at the Pokemon Lugia. So we've already covered Ho-Oh and talking about other Pokemon that we've covered. If you haven't checked out the Sun Series guides yet, do go back and click on the button in the right top hand corner right now. It'll take you over to the playlist. We've covered a lot of the restricted Pokemon so far in the series, so we're going to be continuing on with Lugia today. Lugia is an interesting Pokemon, and we'll just jump and start straight away with a quick overview as we do. Lugia is a flying and psychic type, so it's got quite nice typing. It's got the ability pressure, but I've kind of noted the hidden ability that is available to us, and that is multi-scale. Now multi-scale does weaken any attacks by 50% damage when you are at a 100% health. So as long as you've got full health, you're going to take half damage from any attacks coming onto you, be super effective or not. So it is pretty nice. It's a really good ability. It pairs up with Lugia perfectly because it's got such good defensive bulk. We can have a look at the base stat distribution. It has got a total of 680. It's got 106 HP, 90 attack, 130 defense, 90 special attack, 154 special defense, and 110 speed. So the big ones that really stand out to me here are obviously going to be the defensive stats with that 106 HP stat, 130 defense, and then 154 special defense. But the other really interesting stat to this Pokemon, especially for a restricted Pokemon, is that base 110 speed stat. It is going to be the fastest restricted Pokemon that we have access to. It's crazy good, and it's, even though it has quite a few drawbacks, it has a lot going for it, like the multi-scale, those defense stats, and then that speed stat as well. It just gets the jump on a lot of Pokemon that are problematic in this format. So we'll go on to those other aspects later on in the guide, but now we'll just concentrate on the overview. We can see its weaknesses. It has unfortunately got quite a few weaknesses with this flying psychic type. It's weak to rock, ghost, electric, ice, and dark. Some really popular types that are used in this format. It's got a nice immunity to ground, and then resistances to fighting 4 times, which is really nice, grass and psychic as well. So it's got some nice resistances. Immunity to the ground there's really nice, but those weaknesses do stack up, and I'd say if any drawback, that is the one drawback that Lugia has, its weaknesses, especially within this format. Like I say, dark types are very popular, ghost types are quite popular, and electric, yeah, well, any format with Tapu Koko, you're always going to have to deal with electric type attacks, really, aren't you? So there's a brief overview of Lugia. So it gives you a picture of what you can kind of do with it. You know, it's bulky enough to really be a tank, and it's fast enough to do some damage as well. So let's look at the sample set. So the first sample set we're going to take a look at is the most popular item we're seeing on Lugia at the minute is the weakness policy, and for good reason. Obviously I haven't noted it here, but the ability on Lugia is going to be multi-scale. If you're running the weakness policy, you want to make sure that you've got the multi-scale, and make sure that you're taking those super effective attacks a lot better, reducing the damage as long as you're on full health. You've got to remember that. It is a key point to the multi-scale ability. As soon as you lose a little bit of health, that ability is redundant. So making sure that you can take those attacks, the multi-scale really helps when you're full health, and then combines so well with that weakness policy. If you get hit by a super effective attack, it's going to give you a +2 boost in attack and special attack, making this thing incredibly strong. We went for a timid nature because we want to take advantage of that base 110 speed, make sure that we're getting the jump on a lot of things that are played in this format. You've got to remember that, like, most teams are going to have 2 restricted Pokemon on them, and if, you know, I said at the beginning of the guide, it's the fastest restricted Pokemon. It's not the fastest. Obviously Mewtwo is the fastest, but outside of Mewtwo, it takes that second place quite easily. So with a lot of teams that are going to be running 2 restricted Pokemon, the majority of them are going to be a lot slower than you, which allows you to get the jump and get attacks off first, and it's always really crucial to attack your opponent before they can attack you. It sounds super simple, but if you can attack them and KO them before they can do anything to you, then it doesn't really matter, does it? So we went for an EV spread of 52 HP, 204 special attack, and 252 speed. Like I say, just taking advantage of that speed stat. The HP number gives you the jump on Excelgo. So if Excelgo is a thing, then the final gambit cannot KO you. It will take you down to 1 HP, meaning that you can still get some use out of the weakness policy boost, well, if you roost in that situation, but it means that you can at least take that attack and then still do some stuff like Tailwind or get off an attack that might be quite important in those parts. We've went for a moveset of Roost or Protect. I think the option there is quite nice. You can get around both. Like I say, with the multi-scale you can take an attack, even a super effective one, get the boost, roost up that turn, get your multi-scale back, and then go into action the next turn. Or if you don't want to go down that route, you've got Protect, which is just the obvious play. It gives you a bit more momentum options for maneuvering your board position around, protecting Lugia once you've got those boosts. Tailwind is an option of speed control. It's very nice on Lugia. It supports the rest of your teammates as well. We've covered that many times before in these guides. And then for the, I would say, Psyshock, Aeroblast are really nice on Lugia, taking advantage of those 2-stab type attacks. Both special as well, so you don't need to worry about Intimidate. But you've got options like Thunder, Shadow Ball, Earth Power and Ice Beam that you can use, and like I keep saying in these guides, when you're picking your movesets, cater it around your team. If you feel like you don't maybe need the Psyshock, but Thunder would be really good because you've got an issue with Kyogre, for instance, or Yveltal, because after a weakness policy boost, that Thunder has got like a 63% chance to KO with this special attack investment, KO 4 HP Yveltal, which is pretty huge as well. And you'll be able to take those knockoff Sucker Punch foul plays with the multi-scale quite comfortably, even with this like not very heavily invested defensive spread that we've got here. So if I can get my words out, which we're gonna. Right, so that is the weakness policy set. It is, like I say, the more common item that we're seeing run on Lugia at the minute, and this is just a sample set that I've put together myself with some options for you guys if this is the way you want to go down with Lugia. So moving on to our next one is Electric Seed. It's a really nice option on Lugia. Again, the Electric Seed on any psychic type, a seed is a really good option, because the one thing that psychic types really just do not like is taking those double powered knockoffs from those dark types that really give them a lot of trouble anyway, and that kind of just furthers. But with the seed, you can set yourself up to proc the seed turn 1, so you do not have an item, so that knockoff is not hitting you for as hard. So you imagine with the electric seeds here, we're giving Lugia a defensive boost, we're losing the item, knockoff is a physical type attack, so it just works, it flows so well with each other. We went for a calm nature. We went EV spread with 220 HP, 172 defense, 4 special attack, 4 special defense, and 108 speed. So we haven't really went much investment on our attacking stats, but that's for good reason, because we've got a moveset of Roost, Calm Mind, Icy Wind, and Psyshock. So it's really trying to and replicating what we saw Electric Seed, Calm Mind, Cresselia did last season, if you are au fait with that set. So basically you get the Electric Seed boost, like I say, you've still got the multi-scale intact as well, so you're going to take less damage again, and then you've got the opportunity to get a free Calm Mind off, boost those special defensive stats even more, and you've got access to Roost, you've got access to speed control with Icy Wind, it's a double target attack as well, and Psyshock as well. So you can hit round things that boost up their special defense with Psyshock, and after a few Calm Minds you're going to be absolutely destroying opposing Pokemon. And just to give you an idea of what the move set, the spread can do, so a broken multi-scale Jolly 252, it should be 252, not 242. Live for knockoff from Yveltal is 42 to 52% damage. So that's after your multi-scale is broken. With the +1 from the Electric Seed, it's doing 42 to 52% damage. So you can roost off those, and you're gonna have something next to Lugia, hopefully, to help support it against the threats like Yveltal and things like that. You can't depend on Lugia to just be able to deal with big dark type threats that will do lots of damage, but this is giving you the best opportunity possible against that. The speed stat here creeps all base 90s with a neutral nature with max investment, so things like Kyogre, Groudon, Dialga, all those base 90s you're going to be getting the jump on, and after one Icy Wind as well, you're going to guarantee that you'll be outspeeding all base 130s, so I wouldn't have thought you really need to worry past that point, but that's just something to keep in mind. And just to kind of give you an example, the bulk as well. So after your multi-skill is broken as well, a timid 252 Lunala Moongeist Beam, and I'll get that right this time, after multi-skill is broken is 80 to 94%. So that's not including the Calm Mind. If you can get your Calm Mind up as well, that's obviously going to be reducing it more. And again, it's a bit like the Yveltal situation. You're not wanting Lugia there to deal with the threats like Lunala. It is going to be something that threatens Lugia, so you're going to have to keep in mind that you need to put stuff in your team that can help deal with it. So that is the Electric Seed set, and jumping from one seed to another seed, we're going to look at the next sample set, which is going to be the Psychic Seed. So it does work a little bit differently from the Electric Seed. The Electric Seed obviously gives you the boost in defense. Psychic Seed gives you the boost in special defense. So it works slightly differently. So we've got a little bit of a different build here. We've went for a bold nature this time. We've got that 220 HP stat. We've got 92 defense, 4 special attack, 84 special defense, and 108 speed. We kept that speed stat because I think it's quite important to make sure that you're at least outspeeding Modest and Adamant max speed base 90s. You get the gist. The spread, just to give you an example of what it does, you're going to need Intimidate support with this because your defenses aren't as good without that Electric Seed. But a -1 knockoff from a Jolly Life Orb. 252, we get it right. Attack Yveltal after multi-skill is broken is 41 to 49%, so it's a 3-hit KO. So you've got a way better with that Intimidate support with Lugia in this situation. You've got way better options to roost in between turns and make sure that you've got a little bit of leeway. Get an Icy Wind off, make sure you're outspeeding it, and then get a roost off. Or if you're playing Tailwind, get the Tailwind off, then you can roost, things like that. But to give you an idea of the bulk with that special defensive boost, a +2 Moonblast Timid from a 252 special attack Xerneas after multi-scale is broken is at 44 to 53% damage. That is insane. Like, that's very aura boosted as well. That's insane. And then if you've still got your multi-scale intact, it's doing 22 to 26% damage. So for that instance alone, I feel like Raw is a very good option on Lugia just for this set. Like, I think, like, just because of the damage that you can take that attack so easily and then roost off the damage the next turn. And if you roar it out, get rid of those boosts from Xerneas, it's not as big of a threat as it was, you know, after it's just boosted up. So it's a nice way around it. So the moveset again is roost or roll, depending on what you want, and you can interchange these slots as well. So you could have maybe roost and roll if you want. I've went Icy Wind or Tailwind is your speed control, and then Psyshock, Thunder or Earth Power, so nice, and then Aeroblast is just the last attack. I do like Aeroblast. It's a very nice special flying type attack that Lugia can get some good damage off with, and in a format where you've got quite a lot of grass Pokemon, and you know, you're going to get more fighting type Pokemon, I feel, as the format goes on. It's probably not a bad attack to have going forward, so something to think about. So that's that sample set. That is the Psychic Seed. Next sample set we're going to look at is the Super Berry. So we've got a Timid Nature again, 84 HP, 172 special attack, and 252 speed. It's pretty straightforward here. We're just able to take a few attacks, especially with the multi-scale. You don't need to worry about certain attacks and taking them so much with the multi-scale in effect. And the Super Berry just gives you a bit of longevity outside of just having to rely on Roost all the time. We've got the moveset again, Protect or Roost. Again, these are interchangeable depending on what you need for your team, and like, that's what I will always say. Look at the rest of your team, look what your team's support needs are. If something works really good on Lugia that can support like 2 or 3 other members of your team, use it and utilize it, and you can drop something else that maybe is not so useful, but that's the way of kind of working around these things. So we've got Protect or Roost, again the same with the speed control. You kind of don't really necessarily need both modes here. You just want one or the other, in my opinion anyway. So Tailwind or Icy Wind, and then the same kind of spread. The one difference with this set to the last one is I've just tagged on Feather Dance here because I really do value Feather Dance as a support option on Lugia. Now Feather Dance, what it does is reduce an opposing Pokemon's attack stat by 2 stages, so it's like a double Intimidate. So it's really nice, and it's a really nice combination if you've got something like Roost, Icy Wind, Feather Dance, and say Aeroblast or whatever your last attacking option is, Psyshock, whatever it is, Earth Power. But that is really frustrating for your opponent to deal with, because especially if they've got a team full of physical attackers, it's not going to work on things like Solgaleo, but for the most part on everything else, you're going to be able to just feather dance them, and after that feather dance they're not going to be doing too much, and it's a really good support for the rest of your team to have that. Like if you're missing Intimidate and you really need a way outside of Will-O-Wisp, say, to reduce attack, damage, feather dance is a nice option, something to keep in mind. And it was, just so you guys know, in 2010 the Japanese player who finished second to Ray Rizzo, our very own, he was running a feather dance Lugia in that tournament, and it was just so strong, and it's something I've always thought about ever since, and I really like that option with it on Lugia. So it's something to keep in mind, guys, and don't underrate these sort of support options as well, because at some point you may think, wow, if I had the ability just to reduce the attack here, I could just absolutely storm through anything with this one particular Pokemon. So it might be something that does pop up in the future. But they are the sample sets. Let's look at partners. Obviously we're going to look at the first one. Is going to be Tapu Lele, Psychic Surge ability, Psychic Fairy type, and for good reason. You know, dog types really give Lugia a hard time, and with that fairy typing that Lele has, it's going to give you really nice options to combat them. Like Scarf Lele could be an option to help with Yveltal in particular. The only issue is that Lugia is a flying type, so it's not really benefiting from the terrain effects themselves. I've put in there the terrain support is for seed activation, and that's essential if you're running the Psychic Seed. You need that pairing, but Lele does have its positives to run beside Lugia as well. Next one is going to be Tapu Koko. We've got the Electric Surge, Electric Fairy type. Again, the electric terrain is going to be essential for that seed set. If you are running it, you need the electric terrain to activate that seed boost and get Lugia operating. As always, Tapu Koko has a fast pivot option with Volt Switch to reposition board position to help you support the Lugia a bit better and your other restricted Pokemon, weather control and things like that. The fairy typing, again, a bit like Lele, it's not as strong, but it is going to help against those dark types, and it's amazing. Like Tapu Koko is such a good counter to Yveltal. As long as there's no Lightning Rod users on the field, it's such a good check to Yveltal. So for that reason alone, I would like list Tapu Koko with Lugia all day long. And again, Tapu Koko with that base 130 speed tier, it's really good for Scout and Scarf Pokemon with its terrain, and obviously when other abilities activate and stuff like that. So it's not just good support, it's good for detecting things as well. Right, moving on, another one. I don't know if we're going to ever do a guide without Incineroar, because I feel like in this format it just pairs with everything. Incineroar is crazy. So another good partner for Lugia for a lot of good reasons. It's going to be that Incineroar. It's got the Intimidate ability, the typing is Fire and Dark. It's got that Fake Out support, which is always going to be very useful. It's got that Dark Fire typing for opposing Ghost threats, which is going to be really nice. Intimidate support to boost Lugia's physical defenses, and we've seen that you need that for something like a Psychic Seed set, and it's just got absolutely excellent synergy. You know, between the both of them have really good defensive synergy. Obviously with the flying type that Lugia has, it's a good switch into ground type attacks that threatening Incineroar. For Ghost and Dark type attacks that are coming onto Lugia, Incineroar's a perfect switch in. Lugia's got the special defense of an absolute tank. It can come in on any water type attacks that are going to threaten Incineroar, so both pair super nice with each other, and do offer a lot of options within the team. So I really like this pairing for obvious reasons, but we've went through a few there. There are more. Then the next partner we're going to look at is little old Raichu. So it's got that Lightning Rod ability and Electric, so it is typing. And obviously we've mentioned the reason why it's a good partner for Lugia. It's not only very fast as well, matching the base 110 speed stat with Lugia, but it has that Lightning Rod ability which protects it from all electric type attacks, namely Tapu Koko. Tapu Koko can cause Lugia a lot of problems, especially when the multi-scale has been broken. Those Thunders, Thunderbolts, especially Life Orb and their electric terrain are going to cause you problems to no end, and with Raichu there, it just alleviates all of those things in one. So you could put Togedemaru here as well as an option, but Raichu, Togedemaru, any Lightning Rod is going to be really good. The beauty about Raichu and Togedemaru are they have Fake Out support as well as other support options like Encore, Feint. They have a really option to pivot out with Volt Switch as well, and just in general threaten Yveltal as well, which is you know, another thing that we've already mentioned really does give Lugia a hard time. So there's Raichu, partner example. We've got Groudon as well. So I did mention a little bit earlier in this guide, the Japanese second place player from the 2010 VGC World Championships was running Lugia Groudon. That was his restricted pairing back then, and they're so good together for obvious reasons. Excellent defensive synergy between the pair, and it's a bit like the Incineroar, except you don't have the resistance to the Dark and the Ghost, but you have a really good way to check those electric types with Groudon. It brings the weather as well, and it's more on the opposite side where Lugia can come in and be a really good switch in for Groudon, take those water type attacks pretty seamlessly. It's not going to be it's not going to enjoy taking ice type attacks, but it'll take them a hell of a lot better than Groudon will. So for that alone, it's really good. And they both cover like both spectrums of the defensive like scale almost. So Lugia is specially defensive like a mammoth, and then Groudon is just like ridiculously defensively built. So like both work really well on those, on both sides of those spectrums, and both have access to multiple speed control options and boosting as well. So both can boost up, both can, you know, speed control. You've got Tailwind, Icy Wind on Lugia, you've got Bulldoze, you've got Rock Tomb on Groudon. So there is options there. There's boosting, there's Sword Dance on Groudon, there's Calm Mind on Lugia. Lots of options there, both really nice partners to each other. And the next partner we're going to look at is Kyogre. So Kyogre currently is Lugia's most common partner, which is surprising to me because I don't really pair these two together so well. Personally, I don't think they go that well together. They share a lot of like big weaknesses, namely one is the electric weakness, and if you haven't got a lightning rod user in your team, are really good ways to get around Tapu Koko. I feel like you're kind of losing points straight away going up against these Tapu Koko teams in this format. You could go Scarf Kyogre, but Ludicolo kind of checks that, Toxicroak kind of checks that. I know Lugia kind of covers those to a certain extent, but at the same time they're not like solid ways around this. So I feel like Tapu Koko and other electric types can give this combination a really tough time, especially if they're supported well with speed control as well. So one of the reasons I would presume that Kyogre's so well partnered and commonly partnered with Lugia is the reason that like Lugia's probably got Tailwind support, so that really helps Kyogre obviously, but the other reason is that how threatening Incineroar is to Lugia and how popular it is in the format, and how easily Kyogre just brushes it aside like no other Pokemon really in the format. So for that reason I would say that, you know, that's probably why. And like we've already mentioned, Lugia has really good check options against the majority of grass types that do threaten Kyogre in this format. So for that kind of synergy I can see it working. It's not really a combination that I really like very much, but I could see it working and I can see why players do like it. So don't let my personal feelings towards this pair put you off. If you feel like this could work, go ahead and give it a try, because nothing's worth not trying out. Everything is worth giving a try, and then you'll get a better understanding of how it operates, and you might like it, you might not like it, but that's just my 2 cents on it. I'm not really too keen on this pairing, but I've said what I need to say on it. So last partner we're going to look at is Landorus Therian form. It has got that Intimidate support again. It's got the ground and flying typing, so you've got double flying types here. It offers Intimidate support, which again we've seen how good it really helps support Lugia. It's got the ground typing again, a bit like Groudon, to help against electric and rock types, which can be very problematic for Lugia, and a fast U-turn as well to pivot out for board positioning. And as well as that, Lugia is quite happy to sit next to Landorus while it just earthquakes because of the flying typing that Lugia has. It can just sit there all day, it's not affected by it, it's immune to it, so it gives a really nice kind of combination for that to happen. And Scoffed Landorus could still be a thing in this format, so don't expect not to see it. Right, we've looked at all of the sample sets, we've looked at all of the partnering options that we've got in this quick guide. Let's look at the threats encounter table. So obviously threat number 1 is going to be electric types. Tapu Koko, Zekrom, Raikou, Zapdos, the list, circuitry, the list could go on and on and on and on and on. Electric types are always going to give Lugia a hard time. That's why we've said one of the partnering options in a lightning rod supporter is always going to be very beneficial. A ground type, very good as well as just a switch in to give you an option to switch out Lugia in those really awkward situations where you think, if I take a Thunder here in the rain, I'm going to lose Lugia and I lose so much momentum. But if I can switch in, say Gastrodon maybe, or my own Groudon for instance, I can start gaining a lot more momentum here, and it gives me a switch the next turn to bring Lugia back in, because I've got a way to get rid of that electric type, and once that electric type's gone, Lugia just wins the game. So things like that. But electric types are going to be very threatening. Dark types as well, Incineroar, Yveltal are just a couple to mention. You're going to have Tyranitar, Alolan Persian. There's a lot of dark types in the format. A lot of them will cause Lugia a lot of issues. So you need to be aware of them. You need to have checks for them. Like we've already mentioned, Kyogre being a very good check to Incineroar. Any fairy like namely Tapu Koko, very good check to Yveltal. But you are going to need ways around them. You're going to need switches in on them, and you're going to need ways to get around these Pokemon because they will be very problematic. And a lot of the time, you're going to see team preview with Yveltal and Incineroar potentially on your opponent's team, and you think, how can I bring Lugia to this match? Well, if you're set up right and you've got ways around these Pokemon, you should be fine. But it's just things to think about when you're building. And Ghost types as well are going to be along the same lines of Dark types. They're going to be very threatening. The one thing that you do have a little bit better going for you than you do against the Dark types, majority of Dark types are going to be physical attackers. So if you haven't got Intimidate support, you're going to be taking a lot more damage, whereas the Ghost types are all going to be more special attackers, so you've at least got that huge special defense to kind of fall back on and take those attacks a little bit easier. Got Drift Blame, Gengar, Lunala is going to be the big one though, isn't it? So ways around those. Rage Powder support, Redirection support is going to be very nice. Majority of Ghost type attacks are all single target, so you can pull those away quite safely. But that is another thing that you're going to have to keep an eye on if you do decide to play Lugia and have ways around. Walls and checks. T-Tar walls completely really. If Lugia doesn't have Earth Power, Tyranitar is going to sit in front of it all day long. Just take whatever you want to throw at it, and it will return with assurances, crunches, rock slides. It'll just take its pick, and it will be able to do some huge damage as well. So it's going to be a big one to make sure you've got some sort of answer for. Stack Attacker as well. It can set up a Trick Room on you, and it will underspeed you 100%, and then any of those Stone Edges, rock slides, even Gyro Ball is going to do a big chunk of damage to you. So it's going to be something, and it's not going to take any damage really at all from anything other than Earth Power. If you haven't got that though, then this Pokemon can be very problematic. Bronzong is going to be another one that just completely walls Lugia. Even if you've got Earth Power, it could have Levitate, so it's not really going to care about that. It will freely set up its Trick Room, get its game plan underway, and start causing you a lot of issues very quickly. I've listed Solgaleo here because, again, if you haven't got the Earth Power, there's not really a lot you can hit it with, and it's going to be hitting you for big damage. Same goes with Dustman and Necrozma, and really we'll put Dialga in there. You'll see a common trend here. If you've got Earth Power on Lugia, and it might go to show that Earth Power is not a bad option on it really, because it does give you that nice coverage, but it's whether you can fit it in or not. It's the big question. Outside of Bronzong, you can deal with a lot of these Pokemon pretty well, so it's an option to think of. But they are just a few of the Pokemon that do wall Lugia, and I can tell you there are a lot more as well, guys. But like I say, I want to keep these guides pretty brief. I want to just give you a quick overview of these Pokemon, a brief overview, a few sample sets you can go away and try yourselves, and just an idea of what you need to be looking out for if you're using this Pokemon, for making sure you've got answers for and answers against as well. So that is that, guys. We're going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope you've enjoyed this guide today. Like I said at the start, we have a bunch of other guides that we've done already. If you haven't checked them out, do go check them out. I'll link it again up in the top right hand corner now, and we'll wrap it up there, guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please leave a like on the video. It does really help the channel out, and the video of course as well. And any comments you've got, leave them in the comment section below, and I will look forward to reading them and getting back to you very shortly. So thanks again, guys. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, see you later. So until then, bye bye.